Then equally, if you're an IT firm, you may want to look into the area of being a wallet provider. Unlike the physical wallet, the digital currency wallet is not something where you keep. It's not something where you keep. It's not something where you keep currency as we used to know in the real world. So it's a kind of software that actually houses your keys, and these keys are actually into two forms. We have the public keys and we have the private keys. Essentially, the private key should be known to you alone, while the public key should be distributed to every participant in a blockchain, in a cryptocurrency network. Ideally, when there will be transaction between one party and the other party, so such transaction will be initiated using the public key. I.e., if I want to send money to someone, what I just need to know is actually to know the wallet address of that person, which is essentially the public address, public key. Upon initiating that transaction, the other guy at the other end will only be able to take credit for such transaction if he can prove that his private keys actually match the public keys I used to initiate that transaction. So there are some guys behind managing this software with great security and confidentiality. So one may want to look at that aspect of business as the case may be. In the developed world, government and regulators, tax authorities, etc., are not outside the crypto ecosystem. For example, in the US, digital currency has been adjudged to be a kind of property which capital gain tax should actually be paid on. So, meaning if you have cryptocurrency as a store of value, by the day you actually exchange, that currency for something that is changeable, maybe US dollars or for anything that can be deemed to be disposal, then at that point in time, capital gains tax will be due on whatever gains you actually make from such a transaction. So there are certain statistics that may just aid our thought and decision when it comes to what should we do in the cryptocurrency ecosystem. So there is a supply cap of 21 million. So I'm trying to focus the rest of this conversation on Bitcoin. And there is a cap of 21 million BTC that can actually be mined, from inception 2009 up to the estimated date when the last Bitcoin will be mined. That has been estimated to year 2140. That has been adjudged to when the first BTC will actually be mined. The question running through people's minds would just be, what would then happen, after the last Bitcoin has been mined? Honestly, that still remains a great uncertainty. However, most stakeholders believe that no extension of such supply cap will be done. They premise their position or their assertion on the fact that cryptocurrency is expected to reach $3 million thereabout, per unit between now and the next 11 years, based on previous judgment. And when you look at this, one may want to ask, what will lead to such a kind of increase in value? It couldn't be anything than the basic principle of demand and supply in economy that we are taught in school. So and that is why when you look at what is happening from 2009, when the first set of blocks were actually produced, you realize that on a couple of year basis, maybe about 3 years, 4 years, 5 year intervals, the number of Bitcoin being mined or being manufactured is just reducing by a procedure called the halving algorithm. And that is why in 2010, for example, unlike what we expected in 2009, it was adjudged that by 2012, only half of what was actually mined in 2009 will be mined. And that really happened with just a bit of a 2-month gap between that and this one. Between that prediction and what really happened. But currently in circulation, we have 18.7 million. So meaning we have about 4 million thereabouts that can still be mined. And why the fee is equally, increasing is equally as a result of the fact that only 22% of the available Bitcoin is actually liquid, meaning those are the ones that can be sold, that can be exchanged between one participant and another participant. And it takes roughly 10 minutes, to manufacture a Bitcoin. However, Within a year, it has been adjudged that more than 121 terawatt hours of energy is being consumed. And this has been adjudged to be even more than the entire energy consumption of Argentina, as a country. The same analysis was done in 2010 when the energy consumption was compared, and it was adjudged to be higher that of Switzerland. 2/3 of mining actually takes place in China, and that's another concern for developed world to see probably that most of the benefits will be going to miners that are of China resident as the case may be. And Tesla, we are all aware of electric car, and in 2020, Tesla received 1.5 billion as subsidy for that project, the electric car project. And again, 2021, the entire world was shocked, when we heard that Tesla has made investment of the same amount, 1.5 billion in cryptocurrency. So, and this creates a serious concern, let us see whether this should be the case, whether Tesla is actually doing the right thing or not at the case. Apart from the environmental conundrum we just discussed in terms of energy consumption of mining cryptocurrency or any Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, there are other concerns. First and foremost, for example, investment in cryptocurrency is not equity or debt based. When you have debt, you issue debt to a company, you know that the company default, you can actually go after the directors or go after the properties of such company. That is not the case in this instance. Then we have the regulatory risks, as mentioned by Barrister Moise Panore. So the idea is that can nations, countries, or regulators just fold their arms and allowing some potential risks of cryptocurrency to actually capitalize? They are being concerned about the fact that it is being used for money laundering, it is being used for terrorism and some other vices that we want to take about. Another thing is that unlike deposit money that you can say you want to insure in case anything happens to the recipient bank. In fact, for cryptocurrency, there is no recipient bank. It's a peer-to-peer transaction. So meaning you bear your risk, I bear my risk. Nobody is actually there to actually take that risk away from us. We are all aware of MMM, the same way we have a Ponzi scheme in cryptocurrency. And, we have had instances of people that actually bought fake BTC, as the case may be, as you want to say. Market risk is another example. In 2013 alone, people actually lost about 60% of the value of their cryptocurrency. While we thought it was over, in 2014 again, another loss about 80% was recorded. But the truth is that when the cases were investigated, it was realized that they were actually caused by the so-called wallet whales. Wallet whales are actually the guy that has that cross certain threshold when it comes to number of cryptocurrency that an individual should actually have. So when this guy take a side, maybe the buyer or the seller, so it depicts the market situation, and that caused a very serious dip into the value of cryptocurrency, as the case may be. We have talked about taxation, in the US and South Africa, for example. They are actually looking at this. So despite all this, it is actually a store of value. Despite all this concern, it is something I believe people can still, work with without those risks necessarily crystallized. We talk about the risk of losing your wallet, of losing your key. The least of such security is what we call paper wallet, whereby instead of storing your public key and private key on a system, for example, you can have it just printed out and maybe keep it in your pocket, and whoever wants to take it, will need to take it, or you keep it somewhere in your house. It's very mundane, but that is just, it is what it is. Then apart from paper wallet, we have other form of wallet, and the closer you move to cloud, the riskier of scammers and hackers actually getting your key away from you. So we have what we call hardware wallet, whereby you can just save it on a kind of USB or another hardware. So we have the online, you can save your wallet or your key on USB, for example, that is based on hardware. For the online one, you can save it on cloud, etc. Now, with all these issues, we are aware that there are certain or there are many reasons that can actually cause headache. What I believe is that the headache is never a solution to headache. So there should be ways where we can solve all these issues. MMM, as we all know, then wasn't as a sort of cryptocurrency. People were still duped, and issues arose before the CBN actually issued that circular, as the case may be. Then, in terms of taxing it, yeah, I wouldn't want to say no to that, because we are aware debt and tax are actually two most inevitable things actually envisage in this. I wouldn't want to dwell much on this. I will leave this for the director from the CPN and our brother in Islamic banking, who I believe will actually do absolute justice to a series of revolutions that have been taking place across the globe. We've mentioned something about US. We have South Africa doing something like that. But again, something that cut across the nation is that some nations look at it as a legal tender and means of exchange, while some say no to such kind of status as far as cryptocurrencies are concerned. Now, this is where the issues lies now. If we are saying no to cryptocurrency or any other virtual currency, what we're saying is that the so-called social media, the social media giants or the information technology giants are actually moving towards virtual currency and cryptocurrency. For example, Facebook launched what we call Libra, as we are all aware of. Yeah, unlike cryptocurrency of Bitcoin that doesn't have identity, there is an identity behind the Libra, which is a collection of about 29 non-for-profit organizations, as the case may be. So Facebook informed us that it will be the one that it will not be the one that will be managing it, but it will be managed by this consortium of non-for-profit organizations, as the case may be. So 2.4, 2.5 billion users of this Facebook, if they start using Libra to actually purchase services, as the case may be, then it tells us that there's a limit to when and how Nigeria can actually restrict people from using federal or digital currency. So we have Google, we have Google Pay, we have Apple platform. So we have Tesla announcement, meaning we are likely to see a kind of industry convergence, something that's similar to what happened between bank and telecommunication companies, where through payment system in countries like Kenya, as the case may be, you can actually do banking transactions without necessarily having a bank account. We are aware of such in Nigeria through mobile money. We are aware 3 or 4 entities have been licensed by CBN to actually carry out the payment bank operations. One should be expecting a kind of industry convergence between the so-called crypto economy and other sectors of the economy as we move on. If this should happen, there's a limit to the extent a country can say no to cryptocurrency. Yeah, we have thought from several people, across the world, and I think I will just take 2 out of this. I'll take the comment of our number 2 person, where it says currencies in the coming years will challenge, cryptocurrencies in the coming year will challenge traditional banking, including reserve banking, in ways that we cannot yet imagine. So we need to be prepared for that significant shift. So that was Professor Yemi Otibajo, not something that's far, just this February of this year. Yeah, the CBN equally talk. I love something about the comment from the CBN, because it said at this moment or at this time, I can't even see. So meaning the CBN government is fully aware that whatever we are doing in Nigeria currently, i.e. regulation of bank, is something of a temporary measure. By using that word at this time, his comment in his comment as the case may be. And we have a contra view. Bill Gates, for example, is an opinion that you don't go into it if you are not as rich as the Tesla man. So it's just need to look at it and see how it pays you and how your country is actually looking at it. But something still remains. It's very strong, it's very fast, it's very secure. It has come to stay. It will continue to gain prominence from one country to another, though at a different pace. In my own opinion, I would just encourage anyone who wants to participate in the ecosystem to research a lot about it. Create time to learn more about it. Find out what is going on in other countries, and look out for all those organizations, relevant networks, associations that you may join for knowledge sharing, for idea sharing, and direction as the case may be. Again, for anything that is of high risk, you must be ready to enjoy both the pains and the gains. Because that is the principle when it comes to investment. So it's just, governs by the same principle that says the higher the expected returns, the higher the risk should be. then we need to watch out for what few or fewer people are doing. If many people are going for Bitcoin out of 3,600 cryptocurrencies we have, as of last year, does that mean we cannot try other cryptocurrencies and see whether they offer us something more tangible than cryptocurrency in future? Then again, we are Nigerians, we are in Nigeria. We cannot do away from whatever government policy formulation and implementation being on ground. We need to watch out, we need to feel the heartbeat of the government to ensure that our investment is not in the way. So thank you so much. I quite appreciate your time for this discussion.